First up, the mounting pressure from the US to dismantle Australia's Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme and why we need to protect it. President Trump looks set to impose tariffs of 200% on pharmaceuticals as part of a war against our PBS.
And we'll be announcing something very soon on pharmaceuticals. We're going to give people about a year and a half to come in, and after that, they're going to be tariffed if they have to bring the pharmaceuticals into the country, the drugs and other things into the country. They're going to be tariffed at a very, very high rate, like 200%.
Yeah, well, even the Australian government seems to understand the political implications of touching the PBS. Treasurer Jim Chalmers has ruled out using the PBS as any bargaining chip in any negotiations.
Our pharmaceuticals industry is much more exposed to the US market, and that's why we're urgently seeking some more detail on what's been announced. But I want to make it really clear once again, as we have on a number of occasions before, our Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme is not something that we're willing to trade away or do deals on. That won't change.
Is there pressure coming from the US on Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme?
I think in recent months we have seen comments out of the US about pharmaceuticals trade with Australia. We see the PBS as a fundamental part of healthcare in Australia. We're not willing to compromise the PBS. We're not willing to negotiate or trade away what is a really important feature of the health system alongside Medicare and all of the other things that we're proud of as Australians. We'll work through the announcement out of the US overnight. They're obviously very concerning developments. We are talking about billions of dollars of exports to the US when it comes to pharmaceuticals. So we'll work through it in a methodical way, but we make it clear once again, as we have on a number of occasions in recent months, that the PBS is not on the table from an Australian point of view.
Quite right. So why is Trump threatening this? His tariffs are supposed to be about levelling the playing field against countries where America has a trade deficit. But as I'm sure most of you know, America is actually in a trade surplus with Australia. In fact, in 2024, the US had a trade surplus amounting to $17.9 billion. Yep, that's $17.9 billion with a B. So what's the problem? Well, Big Pharma in the US, quite frankly, doesn't like the PBS because they can't charge like a wounded bull. The PBS keeps costs down by haggling with the drug manufacturers to get the best price. Medicines Australia Chief Executive Officer Liz de Somna explains the government determines the price they're willing to pay for a new medicine, and then it's up to the pharmaceutical company to accept that price. And if they want to enter this market, then basically they have no choice but to accept that price, and they don't like it one little bit. Here's why. Look at the difference between what Australians pay compared to American. Insulin in the US, a month's supply can cost up to $300 US. Now converted, that's about $400 Australian. All these figures are in Australian dollar. Compare that to the price under our PBS, which is capped at $25. Lipitor, which is a cholesterol medication, that's about $130 in the US compared to just $6.60 in Australia. EpiPen is around $650 in the US versus $38 in Australia. And Humira, the arthritis treatment, that's over $2,500 in the US, and Australians pay $40. So you can understand why the pharmaceutical companies in the US hate us and hate what our government are doing. It's not about fairness. They don't care about you and I having a good deal. What they care about is being able to charge, as I said, like wounded bulls. Do you remember that guy in the States who actually bought up a medicine and then just charged big time for it, upped it by thousands and thousands of dollars? The big pharmaceutical companies don't want us to get reductions, and they don't like the fact the government can haggle the price. We're a big market, not as big as others, but we're a big market for medicines. So our government has a lot of sway because it's acting as the provider, the buyer against these providers. The problem we do have is that they're using this in the US to say, well, we're going to put this tariff on your medicines. That will hurt. That will hurt. But we have to stand up to it. We cannot touch the PBS. In Australia, we have a fair medical system, unlike the US, where, as we've seen, if you don't have a credit card, if you don't have medical insurance, you can't get treatment. That's not what we have in this country. I'm really proud of the services we have in this country. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But anyone who gets sick in this country can get help. And that's the big difference between us and America. And we cannot allow any country, whether it's our closest ally or not, to try and take that away. And what we see here is a situation where I said they have a trade surplus, and that should be the end of it. Donald Trump just doesn't want trade surpluses against him. He has the trade surplus against us, but it's still not good enough, and they're acting like a bully to get everything they want. Now, Trump hasn't put this into place, but this is what is being lobbied by Big Pharma. It's the same that's happening with Big Tech wanting our news media bargaining code scrapped. So now that they see an ally with Trump, they're trying to bully other nations. And it's up to us to stand tall and firm. We cannot let this happen. Not 1 cent needs to be taken from the PBS. We have a great system here in Australia. We're not going to let America destroy it.
Fun, insightful interviews from a washed-up producer with nothing to lose. Night to night, but night to night, but night to night. It's good night from McKnight tonight.